You know, I don't normally do 3 videos a day. In fact, it's 2 videos every single day. 10:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the evening, Eastern Time, that's what we do. But sometimes, on very rare occasion, news and rumors hit my desk in such a way that I have to report on them. Today, with Marvel and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, well, we're in that situation. I've got one heck of a rumor. I'm ready to bring it to all of you. Let's get started. Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of that culture curve. It's what we try to do each and every day here on the WDW Pro channel. More than 16,000 of you have decided we're good enough at that you'll subscribe, and we're thankful for each and every one of you. Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell. When you do, you stick it to the algorithms. Today we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We need to set the context before I get into this recent rumor that we're going to be discussing. Please understand that as we go into this, that this is rumor and speculation territory. I cannot verify this independently. Once you hear what this is about, you'll understand why. But of course, this is also breaking to me from a source, and therefore we have to get it out to you piping hot, folks. Earlier this morning, we had an article from John F. Trent, good friend of the channel, been on before. He says over on boundingintocomics.com, a website that you should be reading each and every day, box office projections continue to decline for James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Let's take a look at it. Box office predictions and projections continued to decline for James Gunn's upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 film. Box office tracking website Box Office Pro initially predicted at the beginning of April the film would gross between 120 and 155 million in its opening weekend and go on to bring in a total domestic gross between 288 and 403 million, which, by the way, still would not be fantastic. But even at the beginning, the Box Office Pro had this going to those numbers. Now, 155, that would have been okay. It's still not Mario size. It's still, given inflation, not up there with the first 2 Guardian films, but it would have been better than what we're seeing now. We'll talk about more in just a moment. 2 weeks later, Box Office Pro significantly adjusted their predictions down. They adjusted their opening weekend gross down to 110 million to 135 million, and the total domestic gross to 264 to 351 million. That's abysmal, by the way. On April 28th, they adjusted their predictions down even farther. For opening weekend, they kept their low-end prediction at 110 million, but dropped the high end to 130 million. Despite lowering the top end of the opening weekend, the total domestic gross predictions remained steady. Now, realize that Box Office Pro is basing this on pre-release ticket sales. In other words, people who are reserving their place in the theaters. And they're doing that using historical data, checking it, verifying it, looking at the trends, and then they come up with their numbers. This film has been dropping, and it brings me no pleasure. I love the first 2 Guardians films, but there are reasons to be concerned. Box Office Pro noted their predictions were even initially so low due to initial pre-sales for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 tracking below all post-in-game releases other than Black Widow and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The outlet also indicated recent audience over multiple MCU sequels may start taking a moderate toll on the broader franchise in the short term. Variety shared a similar opinion to Box Office Pro, predicting the film will bring in 120 million in its opening weekend at the domestic box office. Let's go to that article, and then we'll talk about the rumor that I've just been given. Some call it a rumor, some call it a leak. Check the track record, but again, I cannot independently verify it. I can only hope that after this amount of time, you all are beginning to trust those sources as much as I do. Otherwise, I would not present the information. However, still again, rumor and speculation territory. This out of Variety, this one by Rebecca Rubin. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the conclusion of Marvel's trilogy about an intergalactic crew of misfits, looks to kick off summer moviegoing season with a bang. But it's not that great. Here we go. The superhero adventure is hoping to bring in 120 million in its opening weekend, falling in between the starts of 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy at 94 and 2017's sequel at 146. That's right. Even at the high end of this, it does not look like this is going to top the second of the movies, and in 2017, movie ticket prices were way less than now, significantly less than now. There's a chance that Volume 3 could fall short of those projections and land closer to a less spectacular 110 million to 118 million, according to independent tracking sources. This is the thing that everybody needs to be paying attention to. According to independent tracking services, it is now on track for 110 to 118. So despite the fact that Box Office Pro has downgraded it, independent tracking sources are saying this could get worse. Oh my gosh. And guess what, folks? Here is what I have been told earlier today. Let me preface this by saying that I don't have a tremendous number of great contacts and sources around Marvel. I feel much better when I'm reporting on Star Wars and some other stuff. And we've had some good things about Marvel. Those have come from third parties, though, usually. In this case, though, we do have something that comes a little bit closer. I'm going to be very careful with the source. It is coming out today, and so we need to walk carefully in all of this. Again, take it with a dose of salt. All of this is rumor and speculation.
Make sure to catch The Pro Show Thursdays 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Entertainment Explained, The Culture Curve Conquered, live with Pro and all his friends.
What I am being told right now is that, in fact, an impending sense of dread is coming over the offices at Marvel, that it can be seen palpably in internal communications, and that is because, apparently, allegedly, although I cannot verify it, that in fact, internal numbers are beginning to look worse than what we are seeing on Variety and on Bounding into Comics, of course, Box Office Pro as well. And in fact, perhaps Marvel is seeing that their number is looking more like $108 million for the weekend. That's right, domestic box office, and that would bring it below this low mark, 110. Not only that, but because they may be worried that 108 is actually where this thing is headed, well, that's getting it awful close to Ant-Man Quantumania territory, and that's somewhere none of them ever believed this movie would go. Now, not only that, but they are now hoping, praying, wishing on a star that there will be tremendous walk-up traffic, that there will be tons of people who choose to go see this movie at the last minute, and that, in fact, the pre-sales are not indicative of where this thing is going. As the source told me, if this film fails to even reach the 108 million, which seems unlikely, surely it can hit the 110 plus. Even I'm just, if it doesn't hit 120, I'll be shocked. But according to the source, inside Marvel now, they are referring to this as an e-stop moment. An e-stop moment, which is a reference to the Disney attractions when they have a need to completely stop the attraction so that no one is hurt or harmed, or there's a significant malfunction. That's called an e-stop, where the ride completely comes to an end. And apparently, that is what is being bandied about now, because, and here's what the source says, the tremendous fear inside Marvel at this moment, with all of the higher-ups, is that whereas they could once count on huge numbers of Marvel fans coming to support the movie on the opening weekend, Quantumania showed that the bottom may have fallen out. And if Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 follows that same trend and fails to hit the 110 million mark, if it comes close to Quantumania, then that bottom is gone permanently. If Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 can't pull in audiences, nothing can. This is connected with the original characters of the MCU. There was an expectation that although they were losing James Gunn, that they had not lost the audience in terms of anticipation for this film. All right, let's go now to this article out of CNBC. If we can close this ad, let's look at one more time. Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania scored $104 million during its domestic debut. Again, if Guardians comes in around 110 even, which is now the low number publicly, but perhaps lower internally, if it comes out at 108, we're getting close to Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania territory, and that would indicate that Marvel is deeply damaged. That may be what they're referring to, although I cannot know for sure. But an e-stop, maybe this would be a triggering event where everybody inside Marvel needs to take a deep look at what is wrong and what is flawed. Now, again, I don't take any pleasure in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 underperforming. And I haven't seen the movie. I can't tell you exactly why it would underperform. I can only tell you that if it's down there at Quantumania, this is something I did not see coming. Whew, surely we'll be doing videos next week where we're talking about this thing landing at 120 to 140. But again, this is what the source is saying, and I do believe that this source has accurate information. Maybe people are just going to go at the last minute. But here is why I believe that they are concerned at Marvel. This is why I think they have that quote-unquote impending sense of dread. Take a look at this. Over at Polygon, Austin Goslin, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 deserves a content warning for violence against animals. And what it talks about in here, which we won't go into great detail simply because I want to avoid any issues. Even reading this stuff can get you in trouble. But apparently in this film, there are depictions of graphic situations and little critters. We'll say that. I think that'll avoid it, won't it? That'll bypass the systems. But little critters not having a good time, and not having a good time in a real way. We're talking about Rocket Raccoon and his little pals. Now, if that is severe, the thinking here is that if you look at Quantumania's drop-off, remember what these Marvel films have been doing in terms of drop-offs in the second weekend. If this is what's happening, and if kids don't want to go see this because they don't want to go watch Rocket and his little pals be harmed, then you could see a huge drop-off. We're talking 60 to 70 to 75%. And if you couple that with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming in at 110 or even below, gosh, I still can't believe it. But if it comes in at those kinds of numbers, and then it has that drop-off, holy smokes, folks, this thing could be down into disaster territory. Not good at all, in my opinion, simply because, again, I love these characters. I like them. I want them to do well, but, it is what it is. Here's the issue. If this film comes in low, and we're talking about 108, 110, 112, wherever you want to put it, who knows what it's going to be. But if it comes in low, and then it has that drop-off, this is going to be a huge flop. But worse than that, it will indicate that not even the top-level Marvel content has the ability to draw in fans anymore. If Guardians of the Galaxy can't do it, who can? It's not going to be the Marvels. Oh my gosh, you talk about a disaster coming. It's not going to be any of the films coming out next year. You talk about a disaster there as well, all the way up until perhaps Deadpool 3. That could be how long it takes for us to get to the point where Marvel puts out a movie that makes a profit. It's hard to believe, but we are there now. And how about that? Well, folks, that's what I've got for you. Allegedly, the number right now is 108, and everybody over at Marvel is getting very concerned that if it goes lower, this gets into Quantumania territory. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen, not even Marvel, simply because, guess what? This weekend hasn't occurred yet. I promise you, though, I will be going to see the movie. I will check it out, and I'll give you my honest review of it. I'll try my best to not be biased in any way, as much as I possibly can be. But, we'll see what happens. I don't think, however, that we can get away from the fact that if this is graphic or seemingly difficult to watch, this is the absolute worst time to come out with a film like that, because we're in a high inflation period. Everybody knows that in high inflation periods where people feel stressed, they don't want to go to movies that make them feel more stressed. And in case you want to know just how bad this is getting and how concerned Marvel should be, take a look at Rotten Tomatoes. The top critic score is now down to 68%. 68% for a Marvel film out of top critics. That is way, way out of line with the MCU. And you know what? This might mean that The Flash, if you can believe this, The Flash could actually wind up being the highest grossing superhero film for 2023, while at the same time making everybody a little concerned about James Gunn over at DC. What's he going to do if Guardians 3 turns out to be not quite the movie that people, I didn't mean to rhyme here, but that they didn't want to see? Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about that notification bell. Drop a comment down below. I covet your thoughts on this. I'm not completely sold that it's going to come in at this number, but when sources tell me these kind of things, and when the trajectory is aimed in this direction, I've got to report it. Not only that, but I think this is dead on the money. If it comes in low, if it's at Quantumania levels of disaster, holy cow, They are going to have to reassess everything because this is completely, utterly, totally unsustainable. There's no way that Marvel could continue to produce films that are losing hundreds of millions of dollars over and over. That simply cannot happen. Wow. Will job cuts be coming to Marvel if this happens? I don't know. We're going to watch it. But this is a heck of a story, and we'll be watching it all weekend long and bringing you updates on it. Wow, this is something. Well, folks, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed everything we talked about. Of course, we want the movie to be good. We'll see what happens. If you're not yet a member, consider becoming one. It's the price of a soda. We've got a big live show coming tomorrow. Accidentally had that show up that it was going to be today. Of course, that is tomorrow, May the 4th. And we'll have some Star Wars coverage in the morning as well. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, unlike Marvel. And you know what? If you keep growing, you'll probably keep having fun.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Cuz you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?